Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, federal government takes major drive to curb post-harvest losses. WAEC denies restricting subjects for 2026 WAEC candidates. U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick meets Japan's foreign minister. And English Premier League players expected at AFCON 2025. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The federal government says it is stepping up efforts to curb Nigeria's persistent post-harvest losses through a new community-based storage initiative under the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Speaking at a Senate public hearing on 3 key agriculture bills, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, said the new approach will focus on establishing storage facilities within communities rather than large urban silos.
The rise of price of inputs. I'm happy with the crash of prices, but it's the inputs, yes, that we're working on.
Okay.
Fertilizer, irrigation, fuel and all that.
Okay.
So that is what we're trying to find mechanisms in where farmers will have access to credit and at the same time cheaper products for food farming.
He added that the government is working to stabilize food prices by improving farmers' access to fertilizer, irrigation, credit, and other essential inputs, noting a recent decline in food item inflation.
The rise of price of inputs. I'm happy with the crash of prices, but it's the inputs. Yeah, already made a legacy project on the post-harvest losses, which includes storage at the community level, not the silos that we have that are situated in urban areas, but in community levels. This is what we are driving at. We want to make a new harvest silo program that 85% of the storage will be at those farming community levels to replace those local mud silos. Yeah. So that's what we are doing, and also for the cold chain as well.
In his remarks, Senator Salihu Mustafa said the proposed bills are crucial to Nigeria's agricultural transformation, job creation, and export growth, describing them as key pillars for the country's economic diversification agenda.
Produce derivatives from especially the cassava, and also on the second bill that was also sponsored by me, the Food Reserve Agency. It has been very welcomed by everybody. And the third bill, also sponsored by Senator Adamu Alero, on the Rice Council. These are very key, important bills that you can see the passion and the enthusiasm of all those that came. So for us, we have listened, we've gathered opinion, we will go back and aggregate all these observations and opinion so as to be able to come out with a very robust and well-articulated bill.
Joining us to speak on this is a professor of agriculture at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Professor Caleb Ezano. Prof, good afternoon and welcome to Signature TV News.
Good afternoon, my sister. You are welcome.
Now, how serious is the issue of post-harvest losses in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. It's really a teething problem. The issue of post-harvest losses in Nigeria has exceeded its elastic limit. It is critical and disastrous. And I am of the view that federal government should declare a state of emergency in that area, because most of the things harvested, the labor put in, the cost, in cultivation and in planting, we know agriculture is hazardous, is lost. Immediately we go into harvesting. And you find out that more than 70% of what is harvested are lost, and they do not go into the mouth. So it's heartbreaking. So that is what I want to say.
So what is your understanding of this step being taken by the federal government, and how workable is it in terms of implementation?
Very, very laudable, program, if actually it can be done religiously. You see, when we say planning should be bottom up, not top bottom. Are you getting what I'm saying? So a situation where, for instance, government go to zones and establish silos, for instance, if you are going to Umuahia, after Okigwe, you see one by the left, you find out it's lonely. How many people will harvest their crops, especially grains, and go there to store it? So, like the government is proposing, if all these storage facilities can be installed, starting from the villages or zones in the states and in the local governments, then the poor farmers who don't have the wherewithal to travel far to store their products can start, no matter how small. After all, in the olden days, we have rumbus, like in Egypt, that they use. Even when you go to the north, families, they have what they call rumbus, which is a mini silo. But that one is eating something that they use. So I am of the view that it's a very, very laudable program. If federal government can actually go to it, and so that farmers can have access to these storage facilities.
And how do you think that the subnationals, namely the states and the local governments, how can they be involved in this?
That is what I'm saying. In agriculture, we do what is known as a bottom-up approach. The farmers, we have to be gathered, and you tell them, you sensitize them. This is what we get. So that program will be acceptable to them. It's not just coming and establishing it. They may not know anything. That is the work of extension officers. They will sensitize the farmers and educate the farmers and disseminate the information and the technology to the farmers and tell them how it is done. And the farmers will go into adoption of that particular thing. You see it. But if you come and they establish it without sensitizing the farmers, without teaching them, without disseminating the information, without teaching them step by step on how to do this, you'll find out that it will be an ivory tower, project that they will just see, they say it belongs to the government. But if you involve them from the planning stage, you find out that these farmers, will adopt it. They will regard it as their own program. They will not be looking at it as government program, because it is meant for them, and they will have access to it, and they will use it, and it will be beneficial to them. So when you involve them from the planning stage to implementation, and then to sharing the program benefits, you find out that our farmers will rejoice and accept every program that is disseminated to them by this extension officer. So it's the work of extension agents, extension officers to do this, of which I am one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Caleb Ezano. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Fresh divisions have erupted within the People's Democratic Party, PDP, just weeks before its national convention, as former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido rejected the endorsement of Tanimu Turaki as the party's consensus candidate for national chairman. Lamido's opposition has deepened tensions within the party and may trigger a legal battle even as Turaki's camp continues its campaign ahead of the convention. Meanwhile, the PDP has suspended the screening of aspirants for its 2025 elective national convention, originally scheduled for Tuesday, citing unforeseen circumstances. Chairman of the National Convention Organizing Committee and Adamawa State Governor, Amadu Umaru Fintiri, announced the postponement in a statement on Monday, assuring that a new date would be communicated soon and pledging a transparent process. The convention, expected to hold in Ibadan, aims to elect new members of the National Working Committee as the PDP prepares for the 2027 general elections. Lamido, however, accused the party of denying him access to purchase nomination forms and threatened legal action if the situation persists. He maintained that key officials, including the National Secretary, Samuel Anyanwu, and the National Organizing Secretary, Umaru Bature, were not involved in the alleged denial. In contrast, Turaki, the North's consensus candidate and former Minister of Special Duties, has already submitted his nomination form, promising to promote fairness, discipline, and unity within the PDP if elected. 885 elected delegates of the All Progressives Congress (APC) in Ekiti State have unanimously elected Governor Biodun Oyebanji as the party's candidate for the forthcoming election. The Special Nomination Congress, held at the Ekiti Parapo Pavilion in Ado-Ekiti on Monday, was a peaceful exercise supervised by the Governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, who chaired the committee for the exercise. In his opening remarks, Governor Ododo noted that the party was determined to adhere to all legal and procedural requirements in validating the affirmation of a consensus candidate. In his acceptance speech, Governor Oyebanji thanked President Bola Tinubu for his sustained support and encouragement. He said the affirmation reflected the popular will of APC members across the state and expressed his readiness to fly the party's flag in the election. Celebrating the historic occasion that made him the first consensus candidate of a ruling party in the state, Oyebanji extended a hand of fellowship to Kayode Ojo, who was disqualified from the race, urging him to join in the collective mission to keep Ekiti in the path of progress. A youth, non-profit, non-partisan and community-based organization, Catch Them Young Committee Initiative, has expressed concern over the apparent lack of commitment of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to addressing voter apathy ahead of the November 8th governorship election in Anambra State. The group raised concern during a stakeholders forum organized under the Campaign Against Voter Apathy project held in Awka, the Anambra State capital. Correspondent Lawrence Wimo reports.
The issue of voter apathy has remained a major challenge to elections in the country, with less than 20% of registered voters participating in elections. It is to address this negative tendency that the Catch Them Young Community Initiative put together this stakeholders' engagement with the theme Strengthening Citizens' Participation in the 2025 Anambra gubernatorial election in partnership with Leap Africa. Executive Director of the group, Nonso Orakwe, accused INEC of failing to participate in citizens' sensitization programs designed to promote active electoral participation, saying such negligence undermines efforts to combat voter apathy. He said INEC's continued absence from voter engagement activities has been discouraging in the drive to promote voter participation.
Because we need to build this trust. We need to know what is happening in INEC. We need to know how prepared they are for this election, and we are not seeing it. We have all the stakeholders present here.
Leap Africa's Programs and Policy Coordinator, Haruna Godeya, decried the growing voter apathy among youths in Anambra, attributing it to trust deficits and insecurity. He stressed the need for conscious, deliberate and intentional effort towards solving problems associated with elections in order to help grow the country's democracy.
I urge us to be the change you want to see. Fully participate and be part of the Anambra 2025 decide that the effort of our heroes past.
Chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Anambra State Council, Dr. Odogu Emeka Odogu, warned that the continued voter apathy would hinder the change citizens desire. He urged young people to serve as anti-apathy ambassadors by mobilizing others to participate in the electoral process.
Let us mobilize our youth. Let's mobilize ourselves. Let's be on vanguard of mobilizing youth to have interest in the electoral process and particularly on voting. By so doing, we will change the process around us, probably in our communities, probably in our local government, probably in our constituency, probably in our state, probably in our nation.
Delivering a keynote address titled Building Public Trust for a Credible Electoral Process, veteran journalist Dr. Dennis Ekemezie noted that Anambra State had witnessed fairly credible elections in the past decade, but called for more civic participation to consolidate the democratic gains.
In Anambra State, that for the past, let's say, 10 years, we have been having fairly or acceptable, credible elections. And the gratitude will go to all of us, both the media, the security agents, and then the civil society, that they always put pressure on the election management body to do what? To do the right thing.
State Chairman of the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, Comrade Ugochukwu Okeke, disclosed that over 1,000 persons with disabilities are ready to participate in the election.
And we have gotten commitments from all the stakeholders, meaning that they are all ready to support us this time around to participate with veto or no barrier.
Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Edwin Okadibo, assured citizens of the Corps' readiness to protect lives and property before, during, and after the election. Other stakeholders emphasized the need for greater voter sensitization to ensure a credible and inclusive electoral process in the state. From Oka, Lawrence Mwimo, Signature TV News. The issue of voter apathy.
The federal government has announced plans to advance the diaspora voting bill, a move aimed at granting Nigerians living abroad the constitutional right to vote in national elections. The announcement was made by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, during the opening of the one-day Nigerian stakeholders engagement on diaspora governance. The event also marked the launch of the Nigerians in Diaspora Response application and website, a collaborative initiative between the House Committee on Diaspora and the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. The Speaker, who was represented by Patrick Umo, stressed that the government is committed to ensuring that Nigerians in the diaspora can actively participate in the country's democratic process. Abbas stressed that the 10th House of Representatives prioritizes diaspora engagement in line with its broader legislative agenda of inclusion, accountability, and economic reforms. Chairman of the House Committee on Diaspora, Tochukwu Okere, said the newly launched app and website will streamline access to government services for Nigerians abroad and improve communication with Nigerian missions worldwide. The news continues right after this break.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Joining us from Abuja is a former PDP governorship candidate for Enugu State, Dr. Alex Obiechina. You're welcome to Signature TV News. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for welcoming me.
Now, how do you see the move by the country's parliament to incorporate Nigerians in diaspora in the electoral process?
Okay. The idea is very good because they are our citizens. If they are allowed to vote, it will help our electoral process. as you see, this is the trend in most other advanced nations, advanced economies. Citizens who live in other countries are allowed to vote to determine the leadership in their country. So our own would be good if it is done so. Because if you also consider the fact that our GDP, the people from living abroad, our citizens living abroad contribute immensely to the growth of our GDP. In fact, outside oil, they come second. So they could not have been contributing so immensely for the development of our country. And yet we should not integrate them in selecting the leadership of the same country. It will not be fair. So I strongly support that there should be a platform should be created for the integration and then being part of the election process to select leaders in our country. However, the short fault here is that you see, if our electoral empire, that's INEC, do not improve seriously, the whole idea will still be useless. Because INEC must stop issue of rigging, issue of vote buying, electoral violence, and all these other rots that kill our system and they makes our voting useless. If the people in diaspora vote and at the end of it, it's called their vote is not even counted, it will be more frustrating than any other thing.
Right, but this is coming at a time that Nigerians are voicing their lack of trust in the umpire, and one would have thought that INEC, under the new chairmanship of Amupiton, will first regain the trust before coming up with this new idea. So what level of confidence do you have in the new INEC, and what's your advice to him and Nigerians ahead of Anambra poll and 2027?
Yes. Well, the thing is that our president must have done his work well before selecting him. And so since we have confidence in our president, we also have confidence in the person whom we put on board, especially as the Senate has screened and found him worthy to be in that position. So I think it will be good. I will have confidence in him. But the thing that we must tell him that please let him not follow the path of his predecessors in that office. Let him live to give Nigerians a free and fair election that we've been itching for since the beginning of our republic. From the 60s, that has been the challenge of most Nigerians, how to have a free and fair election. And if you do not have a free and fair election, continue running from one hit to the other, because many things will be going wrong. International people will not be interested in coming to your country to vote because they don't understand how far the leadership will go. They are afraid that when elections are not being properly done, anything can happen. And so we urge you strongly to follow the path of dignity and honesty and ensure that the free and fair election is conducted. And there's a good case in the one coming in Anambra, another one's coming around, to prove himself. Let the thing be done so that every Dick and Harry we know that this election was a true reflection of what transpired. This is what Nigerians are begging for, it's not too much.
Okay,
I believe that our president is very good and is always interested in how to move Nigerians forward. And so he is going to insist on him to do the needful.
Thank you so much, Professor Alex Obiechina, for joining us this afternoon. It's a pleasure having you.
Please, thank you very much for the interview. Thank you.
The Commissioner of Police in Anambra State, Ikioye Orutugu, has banned members of the Agunechemba vigilante group and other local security outfits from participating in election duties during the forthcoming November 8, 2025 governorship election. Orutugu, who issued the directive in the course of his statewide engagement tour ahead of the election, warned that vigilante operatives must not be seen in uniform near any election area. He said that members of the Agunechemba should see themselves just like every other citizen and vote peacefully and go home, maintaining that no vigilante should appear in uniform near any polling station from 6 p.m. on the eve of the election. He stressed that election security remains the constitutional duty of the Nigeria Police Force and other statutory agencies, not community-based groups. Orutugu, who visited the Ihiala Area Command and Orifite Division, where he met with community leaders, noted that peace was gradually returning to Ihiala and assured of improved police presence and support. He reaffirmed the command's commitment to a peaceful and credible election, urging residents to remain law-abiding and report suspicious activities through the command's emergency lines 112 or 07039194332. Up ahead, police rescue 8 after kidnappers abduct 7 in Edo. Kenneth Okonkwo urges Southeast to prioritize creation of Adada State. Details of these and more after the break.
We are local.
International communities just finished the Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye. We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
The Edo State Police Command has confirmed the abduction of 7 passengers along the Benin-Akure Road between Obareren and Odunwongie communities. Deputy Police Public Relations Officer Eno Ikoedem disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday, noting that 8 passengers, including children, were rescued while efforts continue to locate the remaining victims. Despite ongoing operations, incidents of kidnapping persist across parts of the state. A retired headmaster, Eliasa Olorunloju, was recently abducted near a Fulani settlement along the Igara Uneme Nekua Ibilo Road in Akoko Edo local government area. His abductors have reportedly demanded 70 million naira ransom. Meanwhile, a teenage girl identified as Blessing was rescued by operatives of the Edo State Security Corps, while another victim, Aisha Wahab, who was kidnapped last week in Auchi, regained her freedom on Friday. The state has witnessed a rise in security tensions following a March 2025 mob attack in Uromi, where 7 suspected kidnappers were lynched after firearms were found in their vehicle. The Abia State Police Command has reunited 3 rescued children and their families and arrested 2 suspects in connection with an alleged case of conspiracy and child trafficking. In a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer, Maureen Chinaka, the suspects, 30-year-old Chinasa Ukachukwu and 30-year-old Adoma Sunday, were apprehended after investigations led to the recovery of the missing children. According to the police, the case began when Chinasa, a widow, left home with her 4 children on October 4, 2024, claiming she was attending a child dedication in Aba, but returned 2 days later with only 1 child. Following credible intelligence, detectives arrested her accomplice, leading to the rescue of the 3 missing children from different locations in Aba, Lagos, and Anambra. The victims have since been reunited with their families, while the suspects have been charged to court. The command also confirmed that 2 Lagos residents recently identified and reclaimed their children among those rescued earlier in October. Commissioner of Police Danladi Issa commended the officers for their swift action and urged parents to remain vigilant and report suspicious movements to the nearest police station. In another development, Abia State Governor Alex Oti will commission the newly constructed Umuene Court Building Complex in Isialangwa South Local Government Area on Wednesday, October 29th. Commissioner for Information, Oke Kanu, disclosed this while briefing journalists on the outcome of this week's Executive Council meeting, chaired by the governor. He said the project is part of the administration's ongoing judicial reforms aimed at improving access to justice across the state.
Let me inform us that on Wednesday, the 29th of October, His Excellency Dr. SLTV will commission the Umuene Magistrate Court, Umuene Court building complex located in the Sierra Masan local government area. This is in line with the ongoing reform agenda of the state justice delivery system, while the state government is constructing 17 new courts all across the 17 local government areas of the state. The Umuene court hall therefore represents the first of the 17 court halls to be constructed.
Kanu also cautioned motorists against violating traffic laws as the state prepares to launch a road safety campaign tagged "Road Safety is a Shared Responsibility, a Drive to Arrive." He warned that no motorist, regardless of status, will be spared if found breaking traffic regulations. The campaign, he said, will be jointly implemented by the Ministry of Transport, the Harmonized Task Force, and the Federal Road Safety Corps. On education, the Commissioner revealed that enrollment in public schools across the state has increased by over 100% between July and October, a development he attributed to Governor Oti's free education policy for primary and junior secondary education. A chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Kenneth Okonkwo, has urged the Southeast to narrow its state creation agenda to Adada State. Okonkwo made the call on Monday while responding to questions during an interview reacting to renewed calls for the creation of an additional state in the Southeast. The Nollywood veteran and lawyer said the bill seeking to create a state in the Southeast is a long overdue act of fairness, equity, and justice. He urged the Southeast to take this opportunity to adopt a consolidated, peaceful approach to selecting one state among themselves, specifically Adada State, with its capital in Nsukka. He also added Nigeria must redesign its revenue-sharing formula to encourage productivity rather than consumption. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has refuted reports claiming that it directed schools to restrict students to specific subjects for the 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates. In a statement released on Tuesday by its acting head of public affairs, Moyoshola Adeshino, on behalf of the head of national office, the council described the reports as unfounded and urged schools, parents, and the general public to disregard them. WAEC explained that the viral claims circulating on social media suggesting that schools have been instructed to limit student subject combinations were completely false and not issued by the council. The examination body clarified that it does not set or modify the senior secondary school curriculum, noting that such responsibilities rest with the federal government through its relevant education agencies. It further stated that WAEC's role is to conduct examinations based on government-approved curricula and in line with the legal and operational guidelines established by the Nigerian government. The council assured stakeholders that any change in curriculum would follow due process and would not be implemented arbitrarily. The council reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining integrity in its assessment processes and assured that no students would be disadvantaged in the forthcoming 2026 examination. Established in 1952, WAEC conducts examinations in 5 West African countries: Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and Liberia, and has built a strong reputation for fairness, transparency, and professionalism. Still to come, Cambodian Thai leaders hold bilateral talks in Malaysia. Netanyahu arrives in court to testify in corruption trial. Do stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick met with Japan's Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi in Tokyo on Tuesday. Newly appointed to the position of Foreign Minister, Motegi is in charge of tariff talks with the United States.
I am delighted to meet you for the first time. I have heard much about you from Minister Akazawa. Secretary Lutnick, you are the key architect of the Japan-U.S. agreement and have demonstrated great understanding toward Japan, and I would like to take this opportunity to once again extend my heartfelt welcome on your visit to Japan. Today I look forward to engaging in discussions with you on a broad range of topics, including on cooperation between Japan and the U.S. and strengthening economic security.
We think the Japanese agreement together is one of the most important. For me, the two most important agreements were the European Union and Agunechemba. Right. And you always will hear me say the two most important agreements for the United States of America.
Motegi replaces Ryosei Akazawa, who has single-handedly handled the negotiations to lower U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and struck a trade agreement in July. Akazawa has moved to the Trade and Industry Minister post in the cabinet of newly sworn-in hardline conservative Prime Minister Sane Takaichi. Cambodian and Thai leaders held a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday, after both countries signed an enhanced truce days ago in the presence of U.S. President Donald Trump. Both sides are looking to avert an escalation of their trade war after Trump threatened new 100% tariffs on Chinese goods and other trade curbs starting on November 1st, in retaliation for China's expanded export controls in rare earths. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and his Thai counterpart Anutin Chanvirakul have both announced the process to withdraw heavy weapons at the contentious borderline has taken place. Among some of the top 4 provisions set by Thailand, they urged Cambodia to join in landmine clearance and to crack down on scam centers. Cambodia has asked for the imminent release of 18 Cambodian soldiers captured during the 5-day clashes at the Thai-Cambodian border areas in July. Both leaders have committed to follow through with each agreement within 2 to 3 days of signing the peace accord in order to build trust among the people, said a statement by the Thai government. The governor of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund opened the kingdom's flagship investment conference on Tuesday by painting a picture of a socially divided world where technological disruption is upending economies and most of the world is worried about divisions sown by artificial intelligence.
$250 billion worth of deals have been made on this platform since it was born, less than a decade ago. We have come a long way together. But at this year's FII, we must take our impact to the next level. The capital power represented by the decision makers in this room comes with great responsibility. An even greater opportunity to shape the future of the global economy. And last year, foreign investment grew 24%, reaching $31.7 billion. We have taken Saudi Arabia to the world, and now the world is coming to Saudi Arabia. To FII every year, to Expo in 2030, and to the FIFA World Cup in 2034. They must come together, governments and private sector as true partners. We need a new model. We need a global collaboration for a new era of global prosperity.
The conference is taking place against the backdrop of a fragile US-brokered Gaza ceasefire, simmering regional tensions, and a kingdom that is facing growing pressure to demonstrate progress towards its massive economic transformation. Ahead of the conference, the kingdom underscored its own efforts to build an AI-driven economy. Al-Rumayyan noted that global financial titans had made $250 billion of deals over the last 8 editions of the conference, and underscored that foreign investments into the kingdom grew 24% in 2024, reaching $31.7 billion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in court on Tuesday to testify in his ongoing corruption trial. Although there is no ruling, Netanyahu was indicted in 2019 in 3 cases, one of which includes receiving almost 700,000 shekels in gifts, including champagne and cigars from businessmen. Netanyahu's long-running trial began in 2020 and has been interrupted frequently during 2 years of war and Middle East upheaval. The Prime Minister has pleaded not guilty and denied any wrongdoing. Search crews used heavy equipment in Gaza's Khan Yunis on Tuesday to look for remains believed to be those of Israeli hostages reportedly killed after their capture by Hamas in the October 7, 2023 attack. Israel said on Monday that the Red Cross had handed over the body of another deceased hostage from Gaza to the Israeli military, according to a statement by the Israeli Prime Minister's office. If the identity of the deceased hostage is confirmed, it would mean that the remains of 12 hostages remain in Gaza, with Palestinian militant group Hamas citing obstacles to locating them in the rubble left by the fighting. Earlier on Monday, Hamas's armed wing said it would hand over the body of a deceased hostage it recovered on Monday in Gaza. The recovery and handover of bodies of deceased hostages in Gaza has been one of the obstacles to US President Donald Trump's Gaza plan. An Israeli government spokesperson said on Sunday that the Palestinian militant group knew where the bodies were. Israel on Sunday allowed the entry of an Egyptian technical team to work with the Red Cross to locate the bodies. The team would use excavator machines and trucks for the search beyond the so-called Yellow Line in Gaza, behind which Israeli troops have initially pulled back under Trump's plan. Palestinians gathered in the scene where Israeli security forces killed 3 Palestinian militants in the occupied West Bank on Tuesday, a police spokesperson said. Firefighters were seen putting out a vehicle fire as smoke billowed into the air. The forces shot at the militants who were planning attacks in the area of Jenin refugee camp, then also struck by air, according to Israeli police and the Israeli military. There was no immediate comment from Palestinian officials. A wide-scale Israeli military operation launched in January in the Jenin camp, long a stronghold of militant groups including Hamas and Islamic Jihad, left much of the area abandoned and in ruins.
What happened is that as soon as they struck, we knew that something was going on. We came down, the army was there, they blew up the car and they struck by air. According to the Israeli media, they said that they struck, blew a car up and killed 3, but we came here and saw 4 mattresses in a cave, blood in 3 places for 3 people and a brain exploded. We also found shrapnels.
Premier League clubs are bracing for a major mid-season shake-up as several African stars are set to leave for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations (AFCON), scheduled to hold in Morocco from December 21, 2025 to January 18, 2026. The tournament's timing means many English top-flight teams will be without key players during one of the busiest periods of the season. Liverpool are expected to be hit hard, with Egyptian talisman Mohamed Salah likely to miss up to 6 matches, including crucial fixtures against Tottenham, Arsenal and Fulham. Manchester United will also be affected by the departures of Brian Mbeumo, Noussair Mazraoui and Ahmed Diallo, while Fulham could lose 3 Nigerian internationals, Calvin Bassey, Alex Iwobi and Samuel Chukwueze. Nottingham Forest will be without Ola Aina, Willy Bolly and Ibrahim Sangari, while Tottenham Hotspur are set to miss the trial of Pape Matar Sarr, Yves Bissouma and Mohamed Kudus. With the competition coinciding with the Premier League's packed festive schedule, AFCON 2025 is expected to test the depth and resilience of club squads across England, as managers grapple with the absence of some of their most influential players. That's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwoha. Thanks for watching.